Sending your kids to Mars seems like a crazy idea. You would probably never do it, especially if you knew how dangerous it was going to be and how awful the actual environment might be. You go, that's the last thing I would ever want my kid to have to go through. I would never, choose to have them exposed to such potential danger. And that's why we've titled this series that, because in the book, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, he opens with this narrative about sending your kids to Mars and how ludicrous of an idea that is. And then he says, we've basically done that and probably worse with the use of cell phones and with the engagement that Generation Z specifically has with them. And so if you missed that, we opened with that last week and kind of unpacked the big picture of how social media and cell phone overuse and stuff is causing tremendous damage. And we're gonna continue to kind of tease out some of the major pillars of the problem related to social media and our phones. When I was in high school, I was involved in Young Life, and Young Life is this great ministry that would reach kids in high school that wouldn't normally go to church. And so once a week, they have this giant experience called Club, where it's just a bunch of fun, crazy, wild games. And then at the end, someone shares a little bit about Jesus, because it's for kids that don't really, necessarily have a background or don't understand it. And so all these wild skits and all this stuff, and the whole goal is to try to get all your friends there. And so when I was in high school, I did everything I could to get all of my friends to Young Life. And so at Kilbourne, we had a giant club. There were over 100 kids that would come every week. And one of the times, and I was one of the leaders, one of the student leaders. So when I was a junior, I walked into club early one night. And so you got college leaders and then staff people with Young Life and then high school leaders. And my leader, Steve Gardner, came up to me, and he was wearing a referee's shirt and had on a whistle. And he was like, Joel, tonight, you are gonna help us lead everybody who comes here to making the largest ice cream sundae in the history of the world, and the fastest possible. We're gonna break the Guinness Book of World Records. He had a stopwatch, he had a camera set up, he had a whistle, and he was like, we're gonna break the Guinness Book of World Records. So I walk in, and they have like a 20-foot gutter lined with foil, and he's like, dude, they had buckets of ice cream and toppings and bananas and all the whoop cream. We call it whoop cream in our house. And they had it all lined up. And so he's like, you just got to get everyone to come in and organize them. So I went full Joel. I went to an 11 on the Joel scale. I got into my kind of, drill sergeant mode. I'm like, all right, everybody, let's go. When the whistle blows, the banana people, put your banana in, then move to the side, ice cream, blah, blah, blah. And I just kind of had them all lined up, and we had 6 or 7 lines of people, and they all had this job. And I was like, if everybody does this, we are gonna break the world record. And I was just jacked up about it. And so as soon as everybody is there and they're lined up, I got them all going. And Steve's like, you ready? And I'm like, yeah. And he blows the whistle, and people start putting the bananas in. And I'm like, go, 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 move, 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 we're going. And I'm engaged in all the people doing this crazy thing, trying to get them to do it as fast as possible. And I turn to the side, and Steve has this big look, a big smile on his face. And he has a handful of ice cream, and he just smashes me in the face with the ice cream. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? You're ruining the thing. We're gonna break the world record. And he goes, no, it's all we just did this just so we could have a big ice cream fight. You're in charge of just orchestrating, whether you knew it or not, the largest ice cream fight. It's all just for fun. And I have to tell you, I was like, bro, you manipulated me. You used me. He knew. He knew me so well, he knew I would go full Joel. He was like, oh, this kid's a sucker. He's just gonna be so excited. He's gonna leverage all that he has, all of his leadership, all of his influence. He's gonna get them all to do it. And the whole point was just so everybody make a big ice cream mess. And I have to tell you, when it first happened and I found out that the whole thing was just using me to get everyone to do that, I was upset. I felt manipulated. I was like, bro, you would use me to do that? And I was genuinely upset for a minute. He was like, bro, he's like, come on, I know you can handle being the butt of a joke. I know you, and I was like, you're right, that was fun. It's fine. But I just want you to think for a second. Imagine if you were in a relationship with someone that you really trust, someone who maybe share like your Netflix passcode with, I don't know. Like someone you really trust, right? Like you trust them. You've spent time with them. You let them in and out of your house, take care of your dog, whatever. Like you really trust them, or someone that you're married to, or someone that you've been friends with for quite a long time, or at a new job who you feel like you're taking on a project together, and you're like, you're like making ground together. Imagine if you found out that this person who you spend hours with a day was manipulating you and actually didn't care about you and was just using you and deceiving you the whole time just to make money off of you. How would you feel? Imagine if you found out that they were not only just using you and manipulating you for their personal gain, but imagine that what they were doing was actually hurting you. And when you looked back, you could see maybe just the fallout relationally, the lost hours of sleep, the money, the time and energy, all that stuff. You go, wow. Here's a question. Would you stay in a relationship with a person that you know is using you that way? Would you stay in that relationship? Would you just go, okay, I know they're using me. I know they're just trying to just completely, suck life out of me. Would you continue to go I'm just gonna let them use me. I'm gonna let them hurt me. I'm gonna let them, do this horrible thing to me? Would you? Probably not. What if you, as a parent, had a kid and your kid was having some distress with another kid and the relationship was bad, and at first you just wonder if they're just learning how to engage and learning how to socialize, and kids get upset with each other. Part of friendship is having conflict, and at first you think it's conflict, but then you find out that maybe there's more going on and there's some really nasty stuff going on in the friendship. And then you realize that, your kid is actually being messed with and manipulated, and they're really hurt. And then you find out that they're actually, when you send them over there or wherever, they're in harm's way. Would you continue to send your kid into a relationship like that? Probably not. You probably set some boundaries. I mean, I know that parents sometimes will, even if there's a kid that a kid doesn't like they'll maybe change classrooms or something if just the chemistry's off, let alone if your kid was actually being hurt. Here's something that we all have to have our eyes wide open on. We all have to be on the same page. We all have to stop and think about this together, and we all have to let our ears open and kind of take this in. The poet, Vanilla Ice, he got it right when he said, stop, collaborate, and listen. We need to hear this. We need to come together around this. This is like the kumbaya. We gotta come together around this and get this first big idea, and that is this: we are all in a relationship with our phones. You're in a relationship with it. You have a relationship with it. The same way, you have a relationship with your toothbrush, right? Everybody has, mine's to go as fast as possible. Katie does, 4.5 minutes per tooth. She has an electric toothbrush. But you have this relationship with your phone. And here's the thing about that relationship with your phone. It's exactly what the social media companies wanted to have with you. As soon as they found out that through their products and through the engagement of the touch screen, they had your undivided attention. So what happened when social media first launched is it was a tool that was free. And everybody went, oh my gosh, this is free. Isn't that awesome? Do you have stuff now that you get and you're I'm having so much fun and it's free? I like Block Puzzle. It's free. It's just a game on my phone. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. Just the ads. But honestly, if you just wait 5 seconds, then hit the little play button, then you hit the X, it goes away and you can play again. It's free. I need a break anyway for a moment, right? So what happened is when Facebook first came out, all these people were using it to engage with one another. And then what happened is the companies realized, ooh, we have all of these users. And then they hired somebody to take those users and build revenue. And then it started to spin out of control. The companies gained lots of users by offering them wonderful tools, but then they sold all the users to advertisers. So Facebook said, here's all these people I have, you and me. Look how much attention I have of theirs. Look how much they like to engage this. Look how they touch this and engage this and get on their phone more. I've got 55,000 right here. I've got 2 million right here. You want to advertise to them? Give us money and we'll let you get a piece of this. You see, one of the things when it comes to social media and one of the questions and one of the statements that you have to get in your mind is if you're not paying for the product when it comes to online, then you probably are the product. We all became the product. The users became the used and manipulated. As soon as they got our attention, it just started to spin out of control. And then the social media companies competed for our attention. So you had Facebook, and then you had Snapchat, and then you had TikTok, and then you have Instagram, and now they're all trying to get everyone's attention. And so what they did is they designed products to engage your brain, manipulate your tendencies, and play into your addictive potential to keep you on longer. So then companies just started to dig. How can we create an avatar? And literally what they did is they created models of us and all the users around the world that they had, and they looked at their tendencies. They looked at when they would swipe, what things they would swipe on, what things they would move forward with, when they would stop, and they started to create algorithms based upon how you interact with it to make sure that you continue to scroll. And the more they could show that they could manipulate you, the more they could tell their buyers, I got their attention, you throw something in front of them, they're probably gonna buy it. This is what's happening. And this has led to one of the 4 main categories of serious deterioration outlined by Jonathan Haidt. There are 4 major portions that he says these are the 4 things that have caused the biggest problem. These are the biggest 4 issues. And the one we're talking about today is social deprivation, relationship. The phone and social media has stolen us away from real life relationships and pulled us into a relationship with it. And that relationship is not only taking our time, but it's taking away relationships with other people. It's taking away our health. You see, you might say, well, isn't it just a friendship in a different way? Some of the questions to these ideas. Isn't it just like, when we were kids, we didn't see each other. We grew up on the farm and you didn't see anybody and you do this and now they all spend all this time together. Isn't it just like the new thing? Basically the same way. They're still socializing, right? I mean, they sit on their phones and talk on the phone while they're playing the video game. I mean, they FaceTime each other while they're doing their makeup, whatever. Isn't it the same? Isn't that all just the same? The answer is clearly no. It's not even close to the same. Teens who spend more time using social media are more likely to suffer from depression, anxiety, and other disorders. Teens who spend more time with groups of people face-to-face on sports teams, any type of extracurricular team, participating in religious communities, have better mental health by far. One of the most interesting statistics is that this has started to happen with Gen Z in 2013. They started to lose face-to-face relationships because they're building in this intimate relationship with their phone so that when COVID hit, every age group, the needle moved big time. The chart changed big time related to face-to-face interactions for all other generations except for Gen Z because they already were social distancing. They were already not engaging in face-to-face relationships. So there was a little bit of a change, but they were just like, oh, we already don't spend that much time together. Oh, I already engage most socially on my phone. So the thing that's to most of us, older generations, we thought this is this horrific thing for kids to be isolated, to socially distance, to kind of go through that year. I mean, we're never gonna forget that ever. That is like marked our experience for life. That was already something that was happening in a negative way for 7 years before it even happened for everybody for Generation Z. You might ask the question, I thought this too. Isn't this time on social media or on your phone, isn't it just the same as movies? Like when I grew up, like in the summertime, you don't have as much to do. Parents are at work. Like I remember throwing in Empire Strikes Back, eating some ice cream, and then watching it again. I remember doing that. I remember, putting on a movie like Back to the Future and then being like, I'm watching all three. I remember doing that. Isn't it just the same, right? I came home from school and we turned on the cartoons. You guys remember coming home from school and the cartoons are on for like 2 hours? And that's it. You're like, I'm watching DuckTales, man. Like there's no doubt I'm gonna miss that. And then Saturday morning cartoons, right? Isn't it all the same? It's just the same, right? We did it, they did it, blah, 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 blah. No, it's not. Long-running studies of American adolescents show that the average teen was watching a little less than 3 hours per day of television in the 1990s. Now that sounds like a lot, doesn't it? Our kids on average, 6 to 8 hours per day. And it's not just that having the screen and being on it is a problem. It's beyond that. It's actually just having the phone with us when we're even interacting with people when we're not on it. So what happens is the average teen is on between 6 to 8 hours, and then they have all this other time that they're not actively on it, but they are thinking about social media and multitasking in the real world. To which most teens said in a survey that they're on social media all the time. When a conversation partner pulls out a phone, we know this, don't you kind of feel like, oh, I lost them? If you're at a meeting and you're having dinner or having lunch with somebody and you get there and you see them and they put their phone like this, don't you kind of feel like, ooh, I don't know how much of their attention I have? Well, this is the way that students feel. They walk around all day, and even though they're in the world, their mind is thinking about what happened on social media. What's the latest post? What's the latest thing? What's going on? And so a MIT professor actually said this in 2015 about Generation Z. And anybody that's locked into this type of addiction, we are forever elsewhere. Sherry Turkle said that. We are forever elsewhere. So we're on our phones, in a relationship with it. It's manipulating us and hurting us. While we're on the phone, it's stealing from other relationships. And then when we're not on the phone and we're with other people in the world, it's stealing from those other people that we're around. A grad student who's studying Gen Z and who is also from Gen Z said this, and this is, I think it's in the book. Gen Z are incredibly isolated. We have a shallow friendships and superfluous romantic relationships that are mediated and governed primarily on social media. There's hardly a sense of community on campus, and it's not hard to see. Oftentimes I'll arrive to a lecture to find a room of 30 plus students sitting together in complete silence, absorbed in their smartphones, afraid to speak and be heard by their peers. This leads to further isolation and weakening of self-identity and confidence, something I know because I've experienced it firsthand. And this is not just something that teenagers are going through and have gone through when they started to adopt these practices. And it's something that starts when kids are really, really young. This kind of stealing of relationship. The introduction of the smartphone has eroded the traditional play-based childhood. It's eroded play-based childhood with far-reaching consequences for the mental well-being in Generation Z. See, one of the things that they've learned is that when kids are real little, their brains and their eyes have to take time to understand and process other people's brains and eyes and words and sounds and movements. And this is called attunement. It's the art of connecting with others. And that humans have a much longer childhood. If you study human development of all the creatures on the earth, humans need nurturing and safety and protection like years longer than like the next mammal on the chain. I mean, eventually within maybe the longest one, it needs nurture for 5 or 6 months, maybe. Humans need it for years. We need protection, we need fed, we need all the stuff, and we need to be looking and engaging with our moms and dads. But what's happening is not just the need for protection and the need for growth and kind of whatever's going on there with parenting taking care of. The brain is slower paced in development, not because it's messed up, but because it's designed to undergo a process that is called synaptic pruning. And what it's doing is connections are being made. And when the connections are being made, it's like it's creating a code in our minds about how we connect with people. So the more time and the more we connect with mom and dad and laugh and read the book with them and see our brother and sister and look at pretty things, the more that is kind of teaching our brain and strengthening those synapses. It's making them stronger. But if you don't have that type of face-to-face interaction and time playing with your brother and sister or with your mom and dad or the dog or the toys, if you don't have that and you're just sitting on a screen, that programming fades away and it doesn't happen. So smartphones specifically weaken children's ability to connect with others because they don't get the programming. You might say this, isn't it though, if we think about our phones, okay, we live in 2024, I was 21 at 9/11. I was in high school during Columbine, and we have any number of travesties and tragedies and Amber Alerts and all the stuff that happens in our community. Isn't it more safe for my kid to just be at home on their phone and it's the lesser of two evils? No, not even close. We live in a dangerous world, but children need, according to research, face-to-face, synchronous, embodied physical play. They need it in order to develop and become healthy. The healthiest play is outdoors and includes, this is what's great, the occasional physical risk-taking and thrilling adventure. Like your kid is on a healthier trajectory if they're kind of outside of your reach, doing something that's on the edge, a little bit risky, and they're engaging with their friends. That's way better. It actually is good for their mental well-being, their social well-being, their physical well-being, while we think, isn't it safer for them to be on their phones? And the phone is deteriorating their ability to even be in relationship where they're in a crappy relationship. Come on. I mean, this is so great. This is a true story. I'll tell you this because I'm proud of it. Maybe I wouldn't have been proud of it a while ago. I don't know. I'm proud of it. This week, one of our boys, he loves to fish. And so we bought him like the fishing pole thing that he puts on his bike, and he's got like 3 poles. And we live kind of up north in New Albany. He has to ride like 25 minutes to get to his friends. And they go fishing all over the ponds, all over like the golf course and the country club. And because his one friend and him have been thrown off a pond so many times, his one friend's dad has gotten letters saying, you're gonna get in trouble if we see your kid on the ponds anymore. And I'm not a member of the country club, so I'm like, I don't care, throw me out. Where are you gonna throw me? I'm already out. I love that. It's like, okay, but our kids, him and 3 other guys were hanging out this week in one of our friends' backyards, and they were shooting a BB gun. This week, they're shooting a BB gun. They're just doing target practice with a BB gun. And one of them had to leave, and it just so happens that through the woods, the pathway to the kid's house was through the woods. So he leaves, and then one of them shot him in the back with a BB gun. So I got a phone call from his mom, and we're friends, like great friends. Like she wasn't even upset. She's like, hey, I just want you to know, one of the 3 kids shot him in the back with a BB gun. And I'm like, what the heck are they doing? So I call my oldest son up. I won't name any names, but my oldest son. And I'm like, dude, Who shot him? I don't know. You don't know it ricocheted. No, it didn't. No, it didn't ricochet. You didn't have a ricochet of a BB hit him in the back. Well, what happened? Well, he was driving away, and that's the way the thing is, and someone hit him. No, that's not what happened. You need to decide who did it, and then whoever goes to the door and says, I'm sorry, and the other two go, we shouldn't have let him do that. You all need to own it. Go do it. Because it's all about relationship with this friend. He kind of had his feelings hurt, but they're good. They're like bros. It's like, fine, like whatever, man, whatever, I got a scar. It's fine. But like, I'm like, you need to go and like deal with this. You need to go and deal. And the reality is, what's so funny about the story is here's what actually happened, right? Retell the story. Hey, I gotta go home. All right, see you. Dude, let's shoot him in the back while he's driving away. Okay, man, we'll see. Dude, I bet you won't even be able to hit him. I bet I will. I would probably not. Let's see. Oh my gosh, you got him. That's what happened. They didn't accidentally shoot in his direction and accidentally hit him in the back. They aimed at him and they hit their target. All that to say, I talked with every parent involved, and they were all like, we're good. Aren't we just glad they're out in the woods? Seriously, that's like a win. Like that's like a victory. I remember when I was a kid, we lived over by Brookside in Worthington, and there's a big park over there. We would get on our bikes, leave in the morning, and go all the way over to this woods, and we would play Army in the Woods for like 5 hours. That's all we would do. I don't even remember. We just run through. We felt like we were on a mission. I don't know. It was a beautiful thing. We have this idea that our kids are safer when they're just engaging in this relationship. Parents have focused on protecting their kids from physical risks, getting snatched up, sex offenders, all very real, scary stuff. What about protecting them from smartphones and social media? Through unstructured, undirected play, children learn to cooperate with one another, assess risks, form friendships, exercise their imagination. The phone-based childhood cannot offer the same development. Risky play is necessary. In light of all this, placing a child in a bubble of satisfaction and safety isn't good for their development. It's an opportunity cost. And you're the parent, and we're the ones that have to assess that for ourselves. That's an economical term, right? What's the opportunity cost? If we buy this house and we spend this money, where aren't we spending our money? And what is the cost? Is it worth the investment to not put our interests somewhere else? The idea is you can't say yes to everything, right? With every yes, there's a bunch of no's. It's an opportunity cost. What did you leave on the table because you said yes to this? And the question with social media is, where aren't you when you're on your phone? Where aren't you? Is it worth it? You're on your phone. You're in a world. What about everywhere else? Where aren't you? You're not in the woods. You're not with your friends. You're not playing sports. You're not making pottery. You're not riding a horse. You're not doing whatever it is. There's a ton of, is it worth it? Is it worth the opportunity cost? Oh, I'm so glad I developed this relationship with this stupid thing that really just wants to hurt me, manipulate me, and get me addicted to it at the cost of, I don't know, pickleball. What a waste. You'd think I'm joking. Pickleball is a great thing to spend your time doing. So is golf. Wives, one time a week, good. Let them go for a week and play golf. Your husband, let the kids, if they want to play golf, go to the pool. I mean, that's what we've got to start to see, the opportunity. What are you missing? Who aren't you with? Who aren't you with? Those precious people that you committed your life to, that you said, I want to spend forever with you. Your children who you were there that day they were born, and your heart bubbled up with joy that you've never felt before, and now suddenly you're developing this relationship over that? Who aren't you? What's the cost? Henry David Thoreau said this: the cost of a thing is the amount of life which is required to be exchanged for it immediately in the long run. How much life are you spending and losing by developing and maintaining an addictive, unhealthy relationship with a platform that's designed to suck you in and doesn't care about your well-being? We have to stop. We have to open our eyes. Our relationship with our phones is stealing the possibility of healthy human relationships. If a human did this to us, we'd say it's disrespectful. We'd say it's deceitful. We'd say it's manipulative. We'd say it's abusive. How much more are we going to spend? Is it worth it? The relationship, the people. Don't make me start up here with all the idiomatic expressions and quotes about the gravity and the importance of human relationships. I mean, that's the Christian move. John just talked about the incarnation. That's a person with people. That's the whole reality that we live in. We're supposed to be people. There's just quote after quote, secular, sacred people that from all directions kind of agree it's all about people. It's all about friendships. You could be great at engineering, but if you're bad with people, you won't be good in the field. You'll just sit alone. You won't be able to manage people. You won't be able to work well with people. It used to be IQ is what they measured. Now it's EQ, your emotional quotient. Can you read the room? Do you know how they feel? Do you care how they feel? Are you empathetic? We're supposed to be the kind of people who set the tone for relationships. We're supposed to be the kind of people that we're so good at relationships that people go, wow, that's the example. And not just older people that are mature. Paul tells Timothy, a young pastor in 1 Timothy chapter 4, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, but set an example for the believers. For the believers. You're a young pastor. You set an example for all the other people in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity. Your love of people is supposed to be the pace car for the world. It's all about relationship. Don't you remember when your parents said to you, and who knows why they said this to you, or it was your grandpa, or it was a friend's grandpa, or a teacher, or somebody said to you, if you go through life and at the end you have two good friends, you're lucky. Did anyone remember anyone saying anything like that? Two good friends? Just two. You just get two. What it was is they realized through their life that having a good friend was rare and precious and special. And to have a true friend who loves you and will challenge you and stays with you and by your side and makes space for you and, oh man, cares about specific, that's a special thing. It's all about friendship. These things, it's not about the destination, right? And it's the journey, right? Life's all about the destination. It's the journey. No, it's neither. It's the company you keep. It's all about who. We're called to be people. Jesus is a person, became a person, made himself known, dwelt with us. John, who spent time with him, he actually uses this idea of relationship to talk about why we're supposed to be so good at relationships. He says in 1 John, he says, that which was from the beginning, that's Jesus, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes, which we have looked at, and our hands have touched, this we proclaim concerning the word of life. The gospel message is because people engaged with God, they touched and walked with him, they wept with him, they had meals with him, they slept on the ground around a fire with him, they had a relationship with him. That gospel of the unknowable, unseeable God made himself known in a relational way. And that is the message that we preach. The reality of relationships being important is the whole fabric of the gospel message. It's how it has legs, because it has legs. You with me? He goes on to say this, do not love the world or anything in the world. Don't love the world or anything in the world. He's not saying that there's nothing good and great to care about and love in the world. He is saying that if you love the world, love it, that's a problem. And he goes on to define the problem. If anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in them. Now, here's the part that I'm just gonna hit you. You deal with the existential crisis. You deal with what this means. We love our phones. No, I don't love my phone, Joel. I don't love my phone. You spend 8 hours a day on your phone. Tell me you don't love it. Tell me I don't love my phone. I can't live without it though. I have to spend 8 hours a day. How much time do you spend with your spouse compared to your phone? I love my spouse. I don't love my phone. You spend 12 hours on TikTok. Come on, man, that's not me. He's saying, don't love the world. Don't fall in love with the things of the world. Fall in love with people. Fall in love with people, man. Spend time with people. Don't fall in love with this fabricated faux relationship that just wants to make you think that you're in good standing, but actually you're developing a deteriorated social reality. Don't fall in love with that. He says, for everything in the world, the stuff that we fall in love in, you know what it is? It's actually not love. It's the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the boastful pride of life. Now, if that doesn't sound like social media, I don't know what does. The lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the boastful pride of life. Come on. Let us weep. Let us tear our clothes. Let us fall on our knees because we are in love with something we shouldn't be in love with. 1 John 4, he goes on later, says, dear friends, let us love one another. For love comes from God. And everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God because God is love. This is how God showed his love among us. He showed his love in a way with his presence. He sent his son, his one and only son, into the world that we might live through him. We might be bound to him and connected to him so that we might experience life through him. How? Relationship. This is love. Not that we loved God, but that he loved us. And he sent his son, a person, to us to solve the sin problem. Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. Who do you love? No one has ever seen God. But if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. We have been handed the burden and the blessing of being the relational connectivity of the world. We are the ones who've been handed the ideal. We've been given the idea to go and lock literal arms and look in literal eyes and listen with our ears and hug and embrace and be with people. And we have fallen in love with the wrong thing. Jesus said it in John 13. And John writes about it, same author as the previous passage. A new command I give to you, love one another. Love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. Who are we supposed to love? Who are we supposed to spend our time with? Who are we supposed to log hours a day with? Who? People. Love one another. And then when you do, that type of love, man, that's how people will know that you're one of mine. You know, we think, and we've been sucked into thinking if I post the right thing, if it looks cool, if I post a verse, I don't know. People will know that I'm a follower. I want people to know because of what I show on social media. The way that people find out if you love, the way that the people that matter to you experience love is when you don't love this and you love them. And people watch that interaction. And so not only are we not very good at relationships because we're sinful and we need to grow, but we're allowing phones to steal from our kids' ability to learn the basics of them when they're kids, and we are in them as well. Now, all I want you to do, this is like this is a radical message. And radical is a relative term because the notion of making a massive change in your screen time shouldn't be that radical, but we're all so ingrained in it, most of us, that it's a radical thing to make the changes that need to be made. And I wanna shake it up, man. I want us to like people see the way we treat each other and love one another and the way I want when we come together, that when we come together, man, it's like the Spirit of God is there, there's peace there, there's joy there. And it matters. And so you need to let this marinate. You know, you need to let the enzymes and the acids soak in. Don't be dramatic right away. Just let this hit you and take some time in prayer. Pray, God, search me. Is there a wicked way in me? Let him tell you, you're spending too much time. You develop that relationship with your phone, with social media, and just go, okay, God, I admit it, I agree. And then pray for wisdom, right? Pray for a way out. A couple of ways to start to piece together is, have an open dialogue, right? Have an open dialogue with no decisions needing to be made right away. How about just the idea we're gonna make a decision, we're gonna make changes, let's have an open dialogue. And talk in the car, and talk over this next week, read the book, engage in it. A couple ideas, a week of phone-free dinners. Like just get a little bit like, here's the phone basket, put them down. Now, before you do any of this, like I said last week, talk with kids, talk with one another, show them the data. It's not that they're in trouble, it's that if we don't do that, we're gonna be in trouble. Are you with me? Like we wanna make a different life for ourselves, so we talk about it. Phone-free Friday idea, a week of fasting from any type of social media for a week of putting your phone to bed at 8 a.m. Here's what I'm doing. You can do this or not. When email first came out, people were addicted to email before social media. And they just go to their email. Oh, I'm so excited. Email. Yahoo, America Online. And you go check it out, right? You've got mail. And you just got so excited about it. And eventually it was dominating people's time. So they would put these away messages and they would kind of shape their economy of time and say, I'm only checking email once every 48 hours, so you may not hear anything from me for 72 hours. And then they go live their life, they sit down, read their email, respond, and then go back to life. Here's what I'm doing with social media, 1 hour a week. 1 hour a week. Now, I never really have had a crazy problem with social media, not really, but I definitely scroll on Reels. And I'll do that. I'll find myself having done that for an hour and a half. And I'm going, what am I doing? Wasting my life here. So here was what I did. And I did this right after last Sunday. I logged out of every social media and I haven't been on since. And you know what? I don't miss it. And I'm trying to fill up more time with engaging with my kids. And honestly, I played like way more pickleball. Like I'm getting better. I'm gonna whoop people. Like I'm excited. I mean, what are you not doing when you're doing that? Spend more time with kids, take them to dinner. The other night I took one of my kids to dinner. We just sat there at dinner. It wasn't like drive through, let's go. Oh, sir, you can move up now. Oh, sorry, I'm on my phone. It was sit, be. So for me, it's just gonna be catch up, what's going on, whatever, respond to messages, and then I'm going back to living and trying to get better at this thing called following Jesus and loving the people that are in my life. So today's prayer Sunday, and I know that everybody in here has something to pray about. I know you have to talk to God about this. And so I'm gonna say a prayer. And, I know some of us have to go right away, and that's fine, but hopefully in the next 24 hours, you'll take some time to just sit before God and just know this, know that God loves you. Like he is a jealous God. That means he craves relationship with you. That means he doesn't like, it's not fire and brimstone. You're gonna be judged because of your sin on your phone. He knows that sin on your phone is the judgment. The sin is the penalty. He doesn't want us to do it because it necessarily causes judgment. He knows that sin kills us. It hurts us. So he's jealous. He's like, why would you throw your life to someone who's just ripping your heart out and manipulating you and using you? Come to me. I love you for you. I want what's best for you. So come to God knowing that he's not mad at you. He is aggressively grieving the loss and chasing after you right now. And so he's not gonna be mad when you show up. He's glad when you show up. There you are. I wanted your attention. I wanted time with you. So talk to him and say, God, I gotta get out of this relationship. I gotta get out of this thing. I got too much here, spending too much time. Help me, God. Help me recognize it. Help me figure it out. Help me to do this different. There's so much you have for me, and I'm missing out because I'm locked in this thing. And just sit with him this morning. You can sit here, you can come pray, like John said, with some people who will pray with you. If you have to go right when I say amen, I totally understand that. But we're gonna have about 10 to 15 minutes of just quiet in here. You can sit, you can come forward, or you can leave just to pray about how the Spirit is talking to you in this particular realm. Let's pray. Father, we come before you and we love you because you love us. We can boldly approach your throne informally with a mess, with tears, with our shame. We can come before you and receive grace like we know it's there. And so we're coming to you. We know that we're locked into this. And as parents, so many of us have done so much wrong to lead our kids into too much time on their phone. And as parents, we've done it. And some kids have abused it. And one way or the other, we're all tangled in this rat's nest, and we just need you to purify our lives. We just need you to purify our lives, God. We just want to be seen as those who love you. We want to be seen as those who are so good at relationship that we love people, that people see the way we love people and they want to know you. So God, we want to get rid of anything that hinders our ability to walk with you and love you. And so this morning we come before you, God, really with tender hearts, really with honesty. And we just want you to we want to ask you to engage us in a process of wisdom and growth. And we love you, and we're so thankful for you. In Jesus' name, amen.